Thanks for joining us this morning. Hello, I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. Applications that will bring a cab right to where you are. Taxi hailing apps have cut down on waiting time for passengers and more companies are jumping in. Korea's kimchi market hasn't been doing so well in the past 5 years, plunging into the red. Why has it taken a thumping? Look forward to these stories and more. Grim projections for the Korean economy have been released by a state-run think tank. The Korea Development Institute trimmed the country's growth outlook to 3% this year from its previous projection of 3.5%. The institute says, however, that this is only achievable if the government carries out planned structural reforms and the central bank makes additional rate cuts. Without such measures, it says growth could fall further below the 3% range. The think tank warned that although domestic demand may be slowly picking up, the country's poor exports may offset such improvements. The shrinking global trade volume is also playing a part in Korea's lackluster export performance. According to the Dutch government agency Central Planning Bureau and other industry sources, the global trade volume has gone down 1.4% on quarter. This is the first on-quarter trade reduction since the same period last year. Korea's exports in the first 3 months also decreased almost 3% on year. Besides waning demand from major markets, the country's strong won has also contributed to slowing outbound shipments. Korea's capital city of Seoul has been ranked as one of the global elite cities of the world, a distinction given to only 15 other cities by global consulting firm A.T. Kearney. Seoul received the title after making it into the top 25 of the Global Cities Index, which measures current superior performance and the global city's outlook, evaluating future potential. The Global Cities Outlook was introduced for the first time this year and was topped by San Francisco for its strength and innovation, while New York was named the world's most global city in the index. Seoul was the 11th most global city after Singapore, Beijing, and Washington, D.C. It was the highest ranking Asian city for future potential in 10th place. If you've been to Korea before, you've probably had your feed of kimchi, a traditional fermented Korean side dish. But with cheaper imports increasingly eating into mass-served kimchi at schools and restaurants, the domestic kimchi market has taken a tumble. Our Lee Ji-young has the story.
A familiar scene in Korea. It's part of the country's unique culture where people come together to make kimchi, arguably Korea's most well-known dish worldwide. The spicy fermented vegetable is so famous, the culture of making it and sharing it made it onto UNESCO's Intangible Heritage List back in 2013. It's also on the top 10 in Forbes magazine's list of trendy dishes. But Korea may be losing its once unchallenged prestige as the massive influx of kimchi made in China is coming to dominate Korea's dinner tables. The Korea Customs Service says the country has been suffering a ballooning deficit in the trade of kimchi over the past 5 years of roughly $84 million. In the year 2014 alone, the country exported 24,000 tons of the fermented cabbage dish, valued at $84 million. But it brought in an overwhelming 212,000 tons, worth around $104 million, putting the country in the red by around $20 million. Industry sources say Chinese kimchi has a relative price advantage, being about 1/3 the cost of Korean kimchi. And since 2012, Beijing's strict regulations on pickled vegetables have made it virtually impossible for kimchi produced in Korea to enter the Chinese market. This is because it requires all salted vegetables to have fewer than 30 colon bacillus per 100 grams, which fermented kimchi exceeds. Moreover, the weak Japanese yen is contributing to the fall of Korean kimchi exports, making it more expensive for consumers in Japan to buy Korea-made kimchi. With more than 95% of Korean restaurants, schools, and hospitals using China-produced kimchi, agricultural officials in Korea say the country needs to break into other markets and find alternatives to resolve the kimchi deficit. Lee Ji-young, Business Daily.
We all know it's difficult to be a job-seeking young person right now, but here's something else to add to that. Only 3 out of 100 college graduates are said to have been successful in nabbing jobs at big companies. Our Eunice Kim has the details.
It's gotten to be even more daunting for college graduates in Korea to land a job. According to a survey of 377 companies across the country, the Korea Employers Association found that just 3 out of 100 college grad applicants were able to walk away with a job so far this year. Breaking that figure down further, applicants who nabbed jobs at conglomerates shrank from 3.2 persons per 100 applicants in 2013 to 2.8. Nor was it much easier for candidates over at small and medium-sized businesses. Only 15.2 per 100 applicants found jobs, down from 16.7 2 years earlier. Meanwhile, the number of job seekers who crossed into the later stages of the hiring process, namely interviews, grew to 16 from 11.5% 2 years ago. This goes to show how highly employers now value interviews, while the importance of written exams has gone down, as have submitted documents that outline candidates' achievements, commonly called specs, here in Korea. In line with their commitments ahead of the start of the spring hiring season, 69% of the companies surveyed said they treated so-called specs only as an eligibility requirement and not much more. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
Need to get to your destination faster? New smartphone application services will do exactly that, cutting the waiting and hailing time for a taxi ride. It's so convenient for both the passengers and the drivers that one of the apps here in Korea already has 1 million users, just 1.5 months into its release. Let's check it out.
The days of standing on the curb, desperately trying to catch a ride, are nearly gone. With the growing list of taxi-hailing apps, customers are able to enjoy faster, more convenient rides, which companies say also come with enhanced safety benefits. The most recent release, Kakao Taxi, matches passengers directly with nearby drivers, skipping the call center dispatcher completely. Once a driver-passenger connection is established, the application provides unexpected waiting time, much shorter than your usual wait, plus information on the driver and the cab. The app also includes a safety feature. After the pickup, passengers can send a Kakao message with the cab info to listed friends. This user-friendly application is completely free for users and drivers who have embraced it even without any commission fees.
It's convenient to locate passengers who aren't on main streets, and I get to pick up passengers who are going in my direction.
It's been just over a month, and Kakao Taxi has more than 1 million users, with more joining every day. But Damn Kakao has competition. Korea's ICT businesses have developed their own apps, including Korea Smart Card's T-Money Taxi, SK Planet's T-Map Taxi, and even some foreign services, such as Brazil-based Easy Taxi. All of them are looking to expand the customer base with better services, making it easier for passengers to get where they're going.
And to tell us more about this, our Shinsemin joining us this morning. So good to have you here, Simon.
Morning to you.
All right, so as we saw, it surely looks like it's going to save us some time and cost while trying to catch a cab. But what's in it for suppliers? I mean, how do they make profit out of this?
That's what a lot of people would be wondering at the same time, too, because downloading the application and calling the cabs via the app is all free. And plus, they don't even take commission fees from the drivers. So the services being provided aren't really chasing after immediate profit, and companies say they won't be adding any fees in the future either.
We have been trying to build a platform that will sufficiently accommodate the needs of our customers, and a taxi service is one of them because it is something that almost everyone uses on a daily basis.
The company added that these services help them acquire more customers using their services, ultimately giving them a growing database on their users.
Well, but then there was that taxi sharing app, Uber, which ran into some legal issues here in Korea. But how are these taxi apps any different from Uber?
That's a good point. Many of the consumers would be also confused with the taxi hailing apps like this to a car sharing services like the Uber. But if you look at it closer, Uber bases its application on drivers who are not registered as cab drivers. So these created problems since Korea requires commercial cars to be registered separately. And in the case of these apps, only listed taxi drivers can take part. And with Kakao Taxi, the company already signed a deal with the Seoul Taxi Association, avoiding such issues. And by doing so, it has been able to prevent running into any legal roadblocks.
Well, you think, will there be more taxi hailing applications like this one?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure you've been an avid customer of the O2O services, or the online to offline services. Now, that's basically a service that has been catering other benefits to many online users other than taxi services, like shopping for food, books, or even clothes. Anything that you order or buy online which gets delivered offline to you is considered the O2O. And according to industry watchers, the service won't stop at cab services.
The services based on the online to offline foundation aren't considered as revenue model. Rather, it is seen as a favor of accommodating the customers so they could broaden their customer base for other services.
And although this isn't much of a money-making business, he added that it leads to a larger pool of business opportunities, mostly by increasing their database. The users of these apps are willingly allowing the companies to store personal information, starting with their phone number, their frequent destination, and scope of activities. So the IT companies then get to learn the preferences of their customers, eventually using it to get an upper hand in the marketing.
So it all comes down to information gathering for these businesses. I'm actually going to try to use one of these apps when trying to grab a cab.
You should.
All right. Thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Well, that does it for now, but we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, same place. So don't forget to tune in then. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye for now.